Hello and welcome to Respect the Ball. It's your boy. Okay, and we're continuing with the Group A previews, and we have here Czech Republic, Czechia. I don't know what they call them nowadays, but yeah, we'll be touching on to that. So yeah, let's get it. Oh yeah, please, sorry for that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, guys. We're a new channel, we're trying to grow. So yeah. And obviously turn on post notification. A lot of World Cup content will be posted on this channel. And get in the comments, guys. Tell us your opinions on the groups and the teams, guys. So let's go. Let's get it. So right down to business, we have Czechia, the Czech Republic, coached by Miroslav Kubek. Don't know him. Don't know the guy. Miroslav, probably a local guy, Miroslav Kubek. Yeah, it's probably a local guy. I'm looking at his, sorry for looking. I'm looking down here at his picture. Maybe it's from Czechia, But yeah, let me pull up their World Cup group. The World Cup group qualifiers. They finished second behind Croatia. I did watch a few of the games. I did watch their game against Croatia. It was fairly boring, but to give you an introspect of like what they are. They did well. With 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. Then they obviously qualified to the playoffs. Obviously beating Denmark. Yeah, on thingy. I didn't get to watch the game. They beat Denmark on thingy, on pens. Yeah, they beat Denmark on pens, and they beat Ireland on pens. I was fairly impressed with Ireland. I didn't think they'd beat Ireland. I didn't think they so, but they kudos to them. Making it. Qualifying in the fashion. Sorry for being distracted. For qualifying in the fashion that they did. It's not easy making it to a World Cup. I don't think they were there at the last edition, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they weren't there at the last edition. So kudos to this group of players. But yeah, let's continue, guys. Let me highlight the key players for the Czech Republic. The key players, obviously, the one known as I pull up on him, Tom Soucek, their captain, West Ham player, just got relegated. I don't think he was fairly starting a lot of those games, but a set piece. Still, this guy is dangerous on set pieces. Like every goal I see him scoring is probably on set pieces, a header or like a rebound from a set piece. This guy is fairly dangerous. We have also another key player, Vladislav Krejci, who plays for Wolves, also relegated. So, these players are not particularly in the best of form, the key players. Krejci just got relegated Wolves. Solid, very tall. Very, very tall. Then we have obviously another tall player, the goal scorer, who's fairly had a good season be knowing him. Patrick Schick, guys. Wonderful former Bayer Leverkusen. I'd pull up his stats, but I think, they're not particularly, relevant to this thing because this is tournament football. But if you look at, the Czech, I want to touch on their friendlies, their recent friendlies, and also, they play a back three also, which will pose a problem, for other teams. It's hard to play against back three teams because they just sit in and it becomes a back five. Fairly for Czech Republic, they don't really enjoy having the ball. I want to pull up the recent match with Denmark. Let me wait for that to pull up. Recent match with Denmark. They weren't particularly on the ball much. Denmark dominated that game. If you watch that game, Denmark dominated that game. They had the better XG. I want to pull these up the stats so I can mention it because that's the new game, the most competitive match they just played. I just want to pull up the statistics for that. But Denmark are a good side. They are a good side. So it's not a knock on the Czech Republic for not being in that game, but Denmark are a good side. But Denmark dominated the XG, dominated the draw, dominated the possession. Czechia don't come across to me as a team that wants to dominate the ball. So I think in all the games in this group, they'd have less possession unless obviously they're behind early, then they have to come onto the team. But if it's like fair game with the teams in this group, I don't think they have the players to control the ball, which is why I fairly think they'll struggle in that aspect. But what I think makes them an interesting team for me is the set pieces. If you look at the average height of the Czech Republic team, these people are tall. And South Africa's major weaknesses. If we know South Africa's major weakness is set pieces, I think Mexico I think they can beat, Korea in that. But set piece, they could get a win out of South Africa here and qualify fairly. Because they could just draw every game here because I think they'll sit in these games. So it's an interesting opposition, in that aspect. Let me pull up the lineups here real quick. Let me pull up the lineup, which I think they'll go with, you know. The lineup. With the lineups, I'm not really taking into account what he played in the friendlies. I think he'll go with a tried and tested method, which is the one he used against Denmark, where he had Kovar, former United player, you know, former Man United boy, you know, should never let him go. Doesn't make sense we did. But that's besides. We have Krejci, Hina, I don't know how to pronounce his name, from Hoffenheim. I've seen a bit of him because I do watch Bundesliga. Chalupek from the local league, never seen him. Zeleni, Darida, Suchik, Kufa. It's essentially a 4-3-3 or 4-3-2-1 with Such and Provod playing behind. You know, they can play behind Schick, or Such and Schick can play both of them up front with a 3-5-2. So they could change up a bit, but I don't know what to make of this. You know, it's difficult when I wanted to do like the preview for this team. It was very difficult because I don't know what to make from this team. They could go through as the other teams in this group, but they can also be knocked out, like dead last. And I think they have the highest possibility of being dead last in this group. I really do think they have the highest possibility of being dead last. So you'd have to tune into my bracket and free predictions, as I say in every video. Tune into that to see my final World Cup prediction. But I do think this team is good enough to get it out. That should be the mandate from the coach and from the FA to get out of this group. Do I think they have the tools to make it far? They can frustrate any team. With that lineup, I'm looking at this lineup. You know, I keep on looking back at it. It's a lineup that can frustrate teams, but it's not a lineup that you expect to go win, which I think against the lower nations, I think they'll struggle. You know, so they have the tools to go against Spain and frustrate them from like 60 minutes and then lose like 2-0, 1-0, like example type team. It's the type team to do that. So we'll see from the thing. I don't know their manager enough to rate him to say he's good or not good. So we'll see in essence from this team. But hope should be high from their country. They really got drawn into an easy group against South Africa. You know, from their country, they don't know who South Africa is. You know, they possibly are scared a little bit of South Korea, but they shouldn't. South Korea is not the South Korea of past. And Mexico, okay, Mexico's the danger. But they can go out of this group. Will they? We'll have to tune in. But guys, yeah, that's my preview, guys. I'd like to end it off on that on that note. Sorry for that. On that note, please like, subscribe, and share the video, guys. Yeah, turn on post notifications. We will be posting more World Cup content. And obviously get into the comments, guys. Tell us what you think. Tell us your predictions. You know, we do read the comments. So yeah. Peace.